Welcome to the special meeting of the Cape Coral City Council. Today is December 10th, 2025. This meeting now comes to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Gunter,
Here.
Council Members Donnell, Paduk,
Here.
Kilrain,
Here.
Lastra,
Here.
Lehman. Here. Long.
Here.
Steinke.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Just a reminder, Councilmember Laster is participating remotely today. Item 4 is business. 4A is the charter referendum discussion. That's why we're here today, to talk about any of the items that the Charter Review Commission brought forward, and also to have any other discussions regarding any type of charter amendments. So I guess we'll start today with I have the Charter Review Commission proposal, and we'll start and go through that, I guess, and I guess we'll have a discussion on each item as we go through. And then after that, I'll open the floor for any additional discussion, either from the council or from staff. The first light I see on is Councilmember Donnell, so let me go over to you before we get started, in case you have a question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So in light of the information that we got at one of the council meetings, and the fact that the city attorney mentioned that now there's no limit to what we have to send to the supervisor, well, that was new information. So a thought that I had for us was for this discussion, as we go through the items, if there's a supermajority on them that we want to go ahead and implement them, then those are ones we don't have to spend time talking about. But if they don't have a supermajority on them, if we just took a poll, then those are the ones that we can have the discussion as to what we want to do with them. I just thought that might be a more efficient use, because I think there were 3 or 4 that we all would just move forward. So just something to think about. Thank you.
Okay. And I'll open up discussion for that particular comment that Councilmember Donnell moved. I guess what he is suggesting, if we have at least 6 individuals or 6 council members that approve moving the particular item in the, I guess, the way it is worded by, or the recommendation by the Charter Commission, that we would just move that item particularly forward. I guess if there's some modifications to it, then that would be a different scenario that we would have a discussion on that item. So I'll open the floor up. Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, and I just want to, I haven't validated the proposed language. I want you all to understand that. So it may not be, and actually, it'd probably be safe to say that it will not be what you see right now. It'll be a version of it that I believe is legally appropriate. So that's why, if you guys want me to amend, for example, 4.02, and you're content with the general concept of what they've identified in here as proposed language for the charter amendment, then I can commence the process. But I'm almost certain that it will not be what it is that you're seeing right now. It'll be a substantial version of it that I believe is legally appropriate.
Okay, and I think it's important to mention, how this process will probably work. I think today's meeting is basically to give the city attorney direction on which topics generally to bring back to council with the verbiage that would be presented during a referendum. I believe you have 75 words.
That's the ballot language.
Yes.
And then as part of the ballot language, which will be on the ballot, obviously, and then it'll be the actual language that would be amending the charter as well.
Correct.
And that has to be done by way of an ordinance, but I intend on bringing that to you all at a committee of the whole, because I need to make sure that you're satisfied with what I have.
So in summary, today we're going to give you a consensus, a majority consensus on basically that particular topic, with the understanding that it could be look somewhat different. It probably would look somewhat different because Number one, it would have to meet the legal elements and also whatever the requirements are for the referendum as far as the amount of words.
That's correct.
All right. Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, I think that what we did last time, if we're going by the presentation overview, we eliminated two right off the bat. We eliminated, of course, the single district, and we eliminated the qualification, the term, us being able to disqualify. So those two were eliminated. So that leaves us with 6. 2 of which were related to salary, 1 being through ordinance and 1 being setting the salary. And then the other 4 were pretty much procedural. And maybe that's what Councilman Darnell was relating to. Of those 4, the pro tem fixes the date that was a bust in the original. We had one that was making sure that the validation of credentials for living in that district was appropriate. And then, so that's 2 on a procedural matter. And then, let's see, 1 was on filling of vacancies, and that was when the election should be held on vacancies, which is somewhat procedural. And let me see what the other one was.
Yeah, I think what I was planning on doing, 4.01 and 4.12, we've already eliminated those 2.
Yeah.
So I was going to go through each one. I was going to start with 4.02
Okay.
and go through, and if we want to do the recommendation of Councilmember Donnell, we'll kind of go down the line first to see if there's a majority to move that, a supermajority to move that forward, which would take 6 individuals to move that particular item forward. If we have less than 6, then we'll have a discussion. If we have at least 6, then that item will automatically move forward to the city attorney to craft the appropriate language.
Okay, sounds good.
So
Yeah.
does that sound okay with
Yes,
everyone?
Yeah, sounds good.
Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Councilmember Laster,
Yes.
you're okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's start with 4.02. Basically, 4.02 currently reads, only qualified electors of the city who have been continuous full-time residents of the city for the entire calendar year immediately preceding their qualification for office as provided in section 4.05 shall be eligible to hold office as a council member or mayor. And I think the key point here to make is this particular, in order to be qualified to run, you only have to be a resident of the city for a period of 1 year. Not necessarily in the district that you live in, but anywhere within the city. The proposed was only qualified electors of the city who have been continuously full-time residents of the city for the entire calendar year immediately preceding their qualification of office as provided in section 4.05 shall be eligible to hold office as a council member and mayor. For the council member shall have been a continuous full-time resident of the district in which they are seeking office for the entire calendar year immediately preceding their qualification for office, in parentheses, residency shall be defined as a candidate's place of permanent and legal address. So I guess we'll start with Councilmember Kadook. This particular language, the way it's written, do you wish to move this particular item forward?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm good with moving this one forward.
Yes, for me.
I wanted to preface my answer with this, and that is that almost everything that would come before us like this, I see no reason for most things why the citizens can't, chime in and vote for the suggested changes and whatnot. There are some things, although, that when I look at them, I go, on the whole, careful what you ask for, careful what you wish for kind of a deal. In many cases, if you don't understand the full scope of things, people might be subject to things that they may not want to be subject to. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with this one particular item, but it would in some of the other items that come our way. And so when I look at these, for me on this one, I think of circumstances that, as the citizens would vote, if it were on the referendum and they would vote, to think about circumstances that could be true where, let's say someone had been renting in the city for years and finally got themselves in a position where they could buy a home. And the place where they bought the home was not in the district they had been living in, and all of a sudden now they wouldn't be eligible to run because they had just purchased a home in a different district that they had not then lived in for a full year before qualification would come up. So for me, I'm a yes on this. I just think that there might be certain circumstances that people would think about that it might disenable someone to run because they've actually bettered themselves, put themselves in a better position, but nonetheless, I don't see that this is something that we shouldn't give citizens an opportunity to vote for. So I'm a yes.
I'm a no. I personally feel that a year is not enough time. In your now, obviously with the mayor, that's a different circumstance, but with council, I think living in your district, I don't think a year is enough. I'm looking more at like 5 years in your district, because then you know more about your district. Not that you've just moved into the district, and what's to stop people from, if they're renting, bouncing from district to district to continue being on council, which is why I feel it should be 5 years in your district to be able to be eligible to run for that district. Thank you.
Councilmember Donnell?
I'm a yes, but I don't think we ever addressed the issue like myself. If something outside, not the renting piece, which I certainly understand, but myself, if the city redraws the lines and they change districts and that person has been there, now if they change it, they're either out or they can run. So I just want to let you know, there is no perfect legislation, but that was one thing that I got caught up in that. And when we passed this, I would not have been able to run, even though I've been here for 29 years. So again, just a thought process, but I'm definitely a yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Laster?
Yes. I'm a yes.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Kaduka, I see your light on?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Lehman, your point would be it's a moot point because we are not doing single-member districts. If we were, that would make sense, what you're saying and how you would need to know your district. However, we're elected at large, so it really doesn't matter. Thank you.
Okay, it appears we have a supermajority on this particular one, so we'll move this particular item forward to the city attorney to bring back at a later date. Okay, we'll move on to 4.05, candidate qualifications and election. Basically, on this particular item, there's a difference in the required proof of residency compared to what we currently have now. Basically, it states as far as, and I'll read through it, any person eligible to hold office as mayor may have his or her name placed on the ballot as a candidate for mayor of the city upon filing with the city clerk a sworn statement of qualifications, payment of $150. Any person eligible to hold office as a council member may have his or her name placed on the ballot as a candidate as a council member for the council district in which he or she resides upon filing with the city clerk a sworn statement of qualification and the payment of $100. Proof of residency shall be established by a valid voter registration card. Should there be more than 2 qualifying candidates for mayor or given the council district, their names will be placed on a primary ballot. The 2 primary candidates receiving the highest number of votes shall be the candidates in the city's general election, which basically means they'll move forward to the general election. The candidate receiving the highest number of votes in the city's general election will be declared elected to the office for which he or she was a candidate. In the event there are fewer than 3 qualifying candidates for mayor or for the council district, their names will not appear on the primary, but will appear directly onto the general election ballot. If a vacancy in the candidacy occurs caused by death, withdrawal, or removal from the ballot of a qualified candidate following the end of the qualifying period, which leaves fewer than 2 candidates for that office, then the qualifying date shall be extended to the latest date for which the general election guidelines may be met. If the election guidelines cannot be met with the remaining candidates, shall be declared the winner. The proposed from the Charter Review Commission, any person eligible to hold office for mayor may have his or her name placed on the ballot as a candidate for mayor of the city upon filing with the city clerk and the payment of $150 filing fee and submission of required proof of residency pursuant to subsection C. And we'll get to that here shortly. In subsection B, any person eligible to hold office, council member may have his or her name placed on the ballot as a candidate for the council member for that particular council district in which he or she resides once they file the $100 filing fee. And C, I think, is the most important change that they made. Proof of residency shall be established by submission of the following. Number 1, all candidates must submit a sworn affidavit at the time of qualifying that provides their place as far as a permanent legal residence and affirms that they have met the residency requirements set forth in 4.02. The affidavit shall be of a form provided to the city clerk. In addition to filing the affidavit, candidates shall submit a proof of residency, which shall include 2 of the following documents: voter registration, a driver's license for Florida identification card issued by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle, or a property tax receipt, homestead exemption, utility bill, or a lease agreement. So basically what they're saying, 2 of those particular items that were outlined. The documentation must be shown. The candidate has established legal residence in the city with that district for which they are seeking office pursuant to the residency required set forth in 4.02. And that's basically, there's some other items in there, but that hasn't changed. I think the biggest change for this particular one is the qualification in section C. So with that, I'll start with Councilmember Kaduke again, and we will go down the line and see if we have a supermajority to move this particular item forward.
Yes.
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 Okay. All right, so we will move that particular item forward as well to the city attorney to bring back the language at a later date. Okay, the next item is the 4.06, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. The current language, the mayor shall be the chief elected officer of the city, presiding at all council meetings, be responsible for the orderly conduct of business, have the same powers as a council member, sign all documents as required by the city council, and shall have the power to veto line items in the city budget, provided that such veto is exercised in writing to the city clerk with immediate notification to other members of city council at least 14 days prior to the date of the final public hearing on the budget. The city council may override such a veto with 2/3 votes of its members as provided in section 4.16D. Also, item under this charter requirement, under B, council members shall be elected by the majority vote of the council to serve as our mayor pro tem. Such election shall be held at the first council meeting following each city general election, except that in years in which there are no city elections, such election shall take place at the first regular meeting of the city council meeting on or after the anniversary of the previous city general election. The mayor pro tem shall be responsible for the orderly conduct of business. In the mayor's absence, shall have not have the power of veto and should only serve for a period of 1 year. And what has been proposed by the Charter Commission is the mayor shall be the chief elected officer of the city, presiding on all council meetings, be responsible for the orderly conduct, should still continue to have the line item veto in the budget, and provide such a veto and exercise in writing to the city clerk, notification to the other members at least 14 days. So it doesn't look like any of that has changed. Paragraph B, it appears that one word was added. The council member shall be elected by a majority vote of the council to serve as mayor pro tem. Such election shall be held at the first regular council meeting following each city general election, except in the years in which no general election, and that'll occur on the anniversary date. So basically, the only thing that was added on this particular item is they've added the word regular, so to make sure it's at the first regular meeting. So with that, Councilmember Kaduke, we'll start with you and go down the list.
Mayor, if I may.
Yep.
I don't know if you necessarily want to put this on there as a ballot. I think it happened as a snafu during, I think, one of the items. I don't know if this is necessarily something that you want to actually put on there, because I think it'd be addressed in moving forward when we don't have an election. And to add on top of that, I think when the city manager and I sat down and looked at the overall charter, I think that we probably believe that there needs to be more holistic changes to be done. But being that this is not something that's that vital, it may be something that we can address moving forward in what we believe will be a more holistic approach to an entire change, as opposed to putting this on a ballot. Just food for thought, because it is such a minor matter, but I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, thank you. And if I recall correctly, the reason that this was discussed, there was a special meeting or?
No, there was a meeting that happened. It may have been a special meeting.
I think it was a special.
Yes.
And because the regular word wasn't there, it was technically the first council meeting after the election occurred the year before, so that was what kind of triggered the whole thing.
Okay, all right. Start with Councilmember Kaduke.
Sure, it doesn't matter to me.
Well, I mean, I guess it would depend on whether or not it's gonna be taken care of under these sweeping changes that were alluded to. I mean, it needs fixed, but there's about 40 references to meetings throughout the charter, and almost every one of them uses a different,
It does.
regular, special, non-vote, so it needs fixed, whether spot addressing it here or whether you've got another problem.
And I believe that your charter is a little bit, not modernized as it probably should be. And what you probably really need is a repeal and replace. I'm not really sure that we're at that point where we can put that on the 2026 ballot, whether it's a general or a primary. But there's a slew of things that has to be probably removed and identified and altered and modified. But it is so extensive that the simplest and cleanest of ways to do that is to repeal and replace. I know that we're going through this exercise because I know several of you talked about potential charter changes while you're running for re-election. That's why we're here. But realistically speaking, a repeal and replace would probably be the most prudent thing for you to do. But that, I would probably say, would be more prudent for you to do in 2028. This is just such a minor
Whether it's gonna be
aspect.
pertinent over the next 2 years or not, assuming that change takes place in 28.
Yeah, and
I'll just
we,
vote yeah, I'll just vote, for now, say yeah. Because I don't want to get into that discussion here, because it's too late for this cycle to talk about something like that.
And if we're gonna wait 2 years to do it, I just as well get it out there now, so, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not gonna hurt. We're only changing one word. And, since there was an issue, it's probably better to be proactive and just put it on there. I'm a yes.
Just a question as it relates to regular not being in there. I'm familiar with Scribner's errors. Is there such a thing as a Scribner's omission?
When I went back and I looked at this, it was removed. It appears to be intentionally.
Correct.
Really?
I don't know why, I couldn't explain it. It didn't make any logical sense, but it seemed like it was intentionally done that way. I shouldn't say intentionally. It was written that way. I'm assuming the person who did it thought that it had meaning to it. It just didn't understand what was gonna happen.
And did you say it used to say regular and it was changed to not say
They
regular?
added, I believe it was added, for the first part was added regular, and they didn't add it in the second part.
And
they
so
didn't- they
would
didn't go
that
through-
qualify as a Scribner's error, that it wouldn't have to go on the ballot?
No. Yeah, because it wasn't there to begin with. They ended up adding words that did not exist, and as opposed to going through the entire 4.06 and making sure that it addressed all both sections, that wasn't accomplished. So they seem to have omitted the corrective insertion of that word for that document, for that charter provision.
Yeah, maybe because we changed the years, the term years, from even to, you know, to coincide with the general election for the national.
I don't mind, because I don't know specifically, but I remember looking at it and it just did not, it was just not accounted for.
Well, for more specificity, if that specificity is needed, so we don't have, you know, the anomaly that we had that put us where we were before, I don't have any problem with it being on the ballot. So I'm a yes.
Councilmember Laster?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move that particular item forward as well. Next item on the agenda is council and mayor compensation expenses. Currently in the charter, it says each council member shall be compensated at a rate 32.6 per year. There's a COLA that's built in, so our salaries are a little higher than that now. And if I recall,
It's 41 plus now.
yeah, I think council members are about 43, the mayor's about 46, something like that, in that general area. I don't have the exact number, but it says here in the charter, 32 per year for the council members. The mayor has a rate of 36.6. Compensation of the mayor and council shall be adjusted annually. That's why it's more today. Beginning in January 2017, the amount of Social Security cost of living adjustment, which is the COLA, the salary shall be adjusted annually on the first pay period in the calendar year. And this was approved by referendum 22-15 back on June 15th, 2015. And it was a referendum that was voted on November 3rd, 2015 and passed. Council members and mayor shall receive their actual and necessary expenses incurred in the performance of their duties. The proposed change is each city council member shall be compensated at a rate of $70,000 per year. The mayor shall be compensated at a rate of $80,000 per year. The compensation of the mayor and council members shall be adjusted annually beginning in January. Says here 2017, but we know that's not going to be accurate. But by the amount of Social Security cost of living adjustments, which is COLA, salaries shall be adjusted annually on the first pay period of each calendar year. The council members and the mayor shall receive their actual and necessary expense incurred in the performance and the duties of office. And C was added. The mayor and city council members shall not increase the salaries, any retirement benefits, any stipends, or any other type of compensation paid to its members unless such increase is approved by ordinance, subject by a public hearing and a public comment after a supermajority of at least 6 affirmed votes. And such increase shall not be effective until after the first city general election following the passage of the ordinance provided for an increase in compensation. So that's what the recommended change is. So with this one, we'll go down the line and see if we have that supermajority or if this is something that we want to discuss further. Councilmember Kaduc.
It really doesn't matter to me. I'm a yes for all of these. I'm good.
Councilmember Long.
I'm gonna be a no on this one, and there are a couple of reasons outside just the words themselves, but it has a lot to do with the time and current affairs and current economy and residents struggle on compensation and, you know, where we're at now is, and the jump to this, although I think it's probably justified based on the data, it may be not the best time to think about doing this in front of the residents, you know, having to be in a very restricted mode on what their compensation levels are right now. And so I think that we have to be sensitive to that. And based on that, I think we need to further discuss this. So I'm a no on this.
Yeah, I'm a no for further discussion.
I'm a no for further discussion.
I do not agree with this 70K. I have said all along, and I feel very strongly about it, if the rest of if the council is considered non-bargaining employees, and the non-bargaining employees in the city, and this past year got a 7.25% raise, which was a 3% merit plus 4.25 COLA. I don't think the council should be getting any more than that. I think the 7.25%, period. Not 70K. We don't need to double our salaries. I don't think that's right considering the current economy. And yeah, I just definitely don't think it's right. Thank you.
Councilmember Donnell?
Just don't want to lose sight when we say yes and no. My understanding, when we say no for further discussion, means that we're not moving that forward, but we might come back to it and talk about it like what she said, or we just done.
We are going to talk about it as soon as, if we don't have a supermajority, we're going to talk about it now.
Right, no. Thank you.
Councilmember Laster?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm still a no for all the reasons I stated previously, and that's what has been stated. It's just not the right time. I don't feel like it's a good time to put this on a referendum. Thank you.
Okay, it sounds like we don't have the supermajority, but Councilmember Long, your light's on, so with that being said, I'll open up this item for discussion.
Yeah, just wanted to, I guess, first qualify my previous vote. I guess it should have been no, and that's why I hesitated a little bit. I must have missed something along the way, because when it was originally proposed by the charter review, there was a discussion about breaking these into two separate discussions. So whether you wanted to mandate the referendum by a fixed number, and then the other one that was, again, at some point along this process separate, would be the subsection C, which grants the council the authority in the future with certain controls, such as a minimum of 2 public hearings, a supermajority. That is what my just now vote yes was for. I've said it previously. I don't think it's going to pass if you put those fixed numbers in there. But I guess, and that's part of the discussion here now, is if I would certainly be in support of the language in C if you removed those fixed figures in A that I guess made their way in there with, and I just didn't realize that they were merged together. So, short version, I support C as it's proposed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Donnell.
Yeah, as far as my part of the discussion, when you're hearing us say, my vote say no, that's not no to not let the residents weigh in. My no is more so that, let me give you an analogy. For you football fans out there, anybody who was watching football, you were watching the Kansas City Chiefs play the Houston Texans the other night. And there's this thing called analytics. All the analytics told Kansas City to go for it on 4th and 3. They went for it and they lost the game. What's my point? All the analytics show that this is warranted. Thank you for the committee for all the hard work you did to bring it forth. It is definitely warranted. The data speaks for itself. However, this is just not the right time. I was on council when we put it in on 2015. It was totally different. Everything was just totally different. So I'm a yes in concept. Thank you again for your work. But I would be more so leaning down the road instead of for this particular election. Thank you, and that's all.
Councilmember Steinke.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, certainly something needs to be done. To Councilmember Lehman's remarks, if over the last 20 years, our city employees' rate of pay had only been adjusted once, we wouldn't have any of them. So it's not an apples and apples situation. The problem is that by referendum, this has come before the citizens 3 times over the last 20 years, and it's only been adjusted once. And so we find ourselves in a position where the salary set based on the analytics that Councilmember Donnell brings up, the analytics say that we are, way far behind what people that have to do the job required to run a city of our size, magnitude, and the fact that we are still growing and only 55% built out, that the compensation is not appropriate for the work that's being done when you rely upon the analytics. So I've been concerned that there is no recognition of additional work that's done that needs to be compensated for as it relates to the requirement to sit on county commissions, county boards, the additional work that's done outside of this room, that if one council member does that and another council member doesn't, then how is the compensation adjusted accordingly for that? And I think the job that's being done and the recognition of the increase in responsibilities since 1970 are not represented in our charter. And so whether that's what city attorney mentioned as modernization of the charter or recognition of where we are today versus where we were then, those haven't been addressed. So that doesn't say that the citizens shouldn't be allowed to chime in. If they say no again, they say no again. But I do think that many citizens have been have gotten information that they've never had before. There's been comparative information that they've become privy to that they were never privy to before. That with that information and understanding the scope of the job, that the majority of our citizens could understand the difference that our city is in today than it was 50, 60 years ago. And maybe the decision would be different than it was 2 out of the last 3 times that this came before the citizenry. So I'm not totally in favor of the way it's been done, but I would have no problem. With putting it in front of them. But to Councilmember Long's point, if we wanted to reduce that to just item C, I could go along with that as well. And that's where I would stand on it.
Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, again, I'm going to echo with respect to the analytics. I think the analytics that we looked at, relatively sized cities and cities of the complexity of growth that we have, certainly the salaries justified. And I can assure people out there that most of us sitting here were used to larger pay grades when we were in the private sector, that certainly this is based on the requirements in order to do this job correctly. And I think to be able to do it in a manner that brings value, you really have to have a good financial background, knowledge of contracts. You have some pretty good common sense. You have to really understand and have knowledge of the city. And it takes a lot of experience level to do that. Some are more gifted than others in their ability to do it and bring it forward. So each person has his own capabilities and his own willingness to put forth hours on the job, and we all vary in that way, but somehow you have to have that commitment level. Whether or not it's a 100% full-time job for everyone, it's certainly a full-time commitment for everyone. There's no doubt about it. If you're not committed to do this job, you don't belong up here. And basically, I look at the opportunity here not for enrichment on anybody on this board right now. I'm looking to the future and making sure that we have the capacity to attract good talent here that has those capabilities to continue the city on the path upward. And I think that's the most important parameter that we ought to look at right now. And I think if we do that on the basis of the analytics looking forward, I think that that's gonna tell us where we need to be. And I think that these numbers probably aren't off by that much. If you factor in a bit of service level and commitment to duty, that you make a sacrifice to take a lower salary to do that. I don't have a problem with that. But again, it's not for enrichment here, so I don't care when this might happen. If it happens to us, great. If it doesn't, I'm not worried about it. But I think we have to set something in pace for the future, whether it's on this ballot. I think that the timing may be inappropriate for this ballot, and that's what my concern is. I think that we're at a special time in the economy right now where everyone's feeling the pinch, and we have a lot of requirements placed upon the residents for extra economic contributions, particularly in the north part of the city where we're doing the water UEP development areas, and that's pretty burdensome on a lot of people. And to the extent that it rubs in the face of those people a little bit, I understand that. I don't know if it's justified, but I understand it. So based on that, I think that we have to look at a long-term mechanism that makes sense to be able to get the salaries up there. And whether it's done now or working into the future, but I think it's necessary to be able to carry the talent forward and keep the city moving forward. So, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lastra?
Yes, I have nothing. I'm still no.
Okay, I wanted to make sure you didn't have any comments.
No, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Councilmember Steinke?
Thank you. Yeah, I just had just a couple other things to add, and one is that we, as council members, have the opportunity to bring forward an alternative. We don't have to just rely upon these. So, Councilmember Kilrain, to your point, hey, we need to do something, but maybe not in this, or for the times that we're in. For us to craft one that would be maybe staged in over a 3-year period of time, or something that acknowledged the additional if you will, right now, which is volunteerism of serving as the chair of another committee or whatever. If we wanted to craft one that would address the kind of the position that we're in right now, but not have all of it hit as quickly as this would, we're not. Our hands aren't tied from doing that.
Okay.
So if we were to say, no, we don't agree with putting this one on the ballot, but still want to craft something that would be more palatable, more, stage implemented, that it doesn't stop us from doing that. So I would just say, if this ends up being a no in its current form, that doesn't mean that we still can't have a referendum that addresses this issue. Thanks.
Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, just a question of city attorney. In order to get it on either primary or the other, what are our deadlines to have something to you to?
April.
So Kimberly Brunn, City Clerk. For the primary election, it's by 5 p.m. on April 20th. And for the general election, it's by 5 p.m. July 6th. And that would be the approved ordinance with the language translated into Spanish and ready to go.
Okay. City attorney, in order for you.
Mr. City Attorney?
Wake up there, buddy.
We're trying to do a couple different things. I apologize.
Don't listen to him.
Make a dental reservation down there.
In order to have your stuff prepared for April 20th or July 6th, what dates are you thinking about?
I'm gonna start working on it all with the goal of having it at least some of them before the committee of the whole in January, so that I can get finalization on the ballot language and the ordinance, and then it's gotta go for first reading. So my intent is to have it all before you in January. And then, once you all approve the ballot language via the ordinance and the actual proposed charter amendments, then it'll go to an introduction and then a first reading. So they'll be all done, it'll be up to you to identify what will go on the primary and what will go on the general.
Okay, so if we were to craft something that would be different from any of these, it would be very difficult to get something to you before January. So we're probably looking for general election for this if we wanted to craft something different.
You wanna go, you're saying beyond what is being proposed? What I can tell you is that about a year and a half ago, I think I did 4 different versions. I'm not sure if any of those can be resurrected. I'm not sure how many of those are gonna deviate from what you all may be thinking. But the sooner I get at least 5 of you to agree to a proposed ballot language and proposed charter amendment, the better it will be for finalization and approval by you all, if that makes any sense.
Okay. See, what I'm thinking of right now is that I'd like to be able to craft something that gives us the opportunity to advance it into the future. But I don't know if it's the right time under the economic circumstances right now to bring it forward. So, you know, that's my dilemma right now, so, but I appreciate it, thank you.
What I've heard so far is, at least for the proposals on A, there seems to be no consensus to move that forward, as it stands right now, but there is an appetite for C. I just don't know if you're all there with the language, which means that I have to create different versions, which means 5 of you would have to identify at least one version that you're prepared to put before the electorate.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you, Mayor.
And, you know, the 4 that I did last time, I could certainly bring it all before you, but there was not consensus to move it forward. It's a difficult endeavor.
Okay. Anything else, Councilmember Kilby? All right, I guess I'll jump in here real quick. You know, we talked about analytics and the data, and I'll talk about that first. You know, one of the things that I had our staff do is to take a look at the top 12 cities that were a council manager form of government. And you've been provided with that list and the data that they got together. And this is the current data, what these particular cities are paid now. And when you look at that data, and you look at the,
Excuse me, Mayor, did you want to display it, or?
yeah, we can. You have a copy? Great idea.
And I've got the proposals from my paralegal. I'm gonna email it to you all. I know you're getting it, but I want you all to at least have it while we're having this conversation, the 4 different proposals that were brought to you about a year and a half ago. So that way you'll at least have that as somewhat of a frame of reference.
Anyway, you look at these are the top 12 cities with city manager form of governments. And the areas that are highlighted are cities that have a population of over 185,000. And I thought it, just to kind of put it in context, that what those particular cities are paying that have a population of over 185,000. So if you look at Fort Lauderdale, they have a population of about little over 189,000. The mayor in that particular city is being paid $106,919.90. City council's getting paid $89,099.92. Over and above that salary, the mayor has a $500 monthly expense account, and the commissioners have a $300 monthly expense account. If you move on to Tallahassee, Tallahassee has about 206,000 in population. The mayor and city council both make the same exact money of $99,165.99. And each elected official receives an annual cash supplement of $1,315.08. and an annual auto allowance of $3,000 over and above the salaries that are listed. Port St. Lucie, it's about 260,000 in population. The mayor makes 109,134.22, and the council salary is 72,057.70. The mayor receives a auto allowance of 250 monthly, and the council members also receive a auto allowance of 250 monthly. And then you have Cape Coral, about 233,000. And here's our current salaries now that I didn't have before. The mayor's salary is 48,250.40, and council salary is 42,967.90. So when you look at the population over 185, you know, the data shows that we're well behind what the other cities are with similar sized cities. But with that being said, there's no doubt in my mind, and I couldn't support moving the verbiage that has been proposed. No doubt in my mind, if we are going to have a discussion on increase in our salaries, even though the data shows that's what we should do, and we are going to take our salaries and basically double them. We've already been here. We've already done this exercise. And what the some of the outcry was in the community. So even though we should be there, I think that if we are going to do anything, it has to be something that we do over a period of time.
Absolutely.
And, you know, over a 5-year period, or whatever the case may be. So the way the verbiage is written now, I cannot support that, only because I don't want to put something on the ballot that I don't even think has a chance. We're wasting our time, we're wasting the community's time if we do that. When you look at subsection C, there is some additional parameters that was built into this, but I can tell you, because of the stipend, if we only move C forward, the only thing that the community is going to think about is, oh,
Exactly.
they still want to do the same thing they did before. I know that's what's going to be said. So, you know, I couldn't agree just to move subsection C forward either. Now, are there some additional parameters? You know, we put it on the consent agenda. As we all know, we could have did a better job there. You know, even if we have, as an ordinance, you have to have a first reading and then bring it back, and then there's a supermajority vote that needs to take place, and then it doesn't even take effect until the following general election. So there are some additional parameters that have been added that are different than how the stipend was, the stipend was outlined. But, you know, for me, if we're going to do something, you know, I took this job knowing what it was. I'm okay if the salary stays where it's at. I'm still going to do the same job that I've done the last 7 years. I didn't come here for the money. If anything, this job cost me money because it's taken time away from my business that I could be making much more money. But I did it to serve the community. So with that being said, unless we craft it in some other form or fashion, even though we should be getting paid more, that I want to try to do it in a way that it's a plausible, has a plausible opportunity to pass. And what's here today, I would bet every penny I have that if we move this forward, we're not going to get the votes that you need to move this particular verbiage to get approved. I like council members, you know, one of the things I've always said, even during the stipend discussion, you know, and the 7 years I've been here, I've seen it. You got some council members that, you know, on a lot of boards that Councilmember Steinke had brought up, and they're really engaged and involved in a variety of organizations, whether it's the county level, the state level, the local level, you know, if it's our boards, that take additional times. And then you have some council members that don't do any of them. And I believe that there needs to be somehow, some way, an outline of responsibility. Maybe that responsibility could be in a form of, hey, if you're on a board and you're taken additional time in order to be on that board, then you should be compensated. And I do believe that, because I can come here, you know, as a mayor or as a council member, and when you look at the charter, today, I only have to be here for every 3 meetings, regular meetings. I don't even have to be here for council meetings. Does that need to change? Absolutely. How we do that, I'm not sure. And should we be compensated with the more work that we do? I believe so. I've had the fortune of being a council member and a mayor. I will tell you, the mayor's responsibility is a little bit more, you know, because of signing the documents, going to the bond, to the, you know, to the bond meetings where you're signing all the documentation.
Preparing you.
Everybody and their mother wants to come and meet the mayor. Most people don't understand what a city manager form of government. They think I run everything. I make all the decisions. And that's not the case, but the first person they call is me. So most of the time when I meet with people in the community, it's operational issues that we have no control over. Actually, by charter, we can't have any input with. So I have to pass them along, but I still have to go through that process. So in summary, what's here now, I can't support. If we want to have, I think today, what we need to do is, you know, we have 2 choices, I think. Do we stay as is, as I've heard some people say, and stay the course for now, bring it up at a later time during a different election year? Or do we want to have further discussion where we come back at a later time, maybe in January sometime, and have a discussion, maybe in a committee of the whole, of some additional scenarios, whether city attorney brings them forward, a specific council member brings them forward. So I think that's where I see us at right now. I don't see a majority moving anything forward. And I think the choice is, do we want to come back and have further discussion, or do we want to stay the status quo? So that's where I'm at. Councilmember Kilrain.
Yeah, one thing that you didn't mention on your chart, Mayor, is the growth factor, and the growth factor is similar to Port St. Lucie, so, I mean, we're really going over a tremendous growth factor, and that really complicates the job to a great extent. I just wanted to comment a little bit about why I think it's important that we look at something long-term here, and it's, you know, again, I want to emphasize, it's not done out of arrogance that this board deserves the money. I don't think that anyone sitting up here is going to really change what they're doing with this additional money put in their pocket. And I think we all can get along without it. And I'm speaking for myself, but I think I know you all well enough to understand that. So I'm not doing it for myself, and I'm not doing it for anything else but being able to look at the city in the future and make sure that we have the right talent in place and can attract the right talent and give people the opportunity to do this not as a second job but as a first job, because I think that's what's going to become necessary into the future. So again, it's not a movement of arrogance. I just don't think that right now, by putting it on the ballot, it's going to be perceived that we're being arrogant and trying to force something down residents' throat, and I don't want that perception. And I agree with you, Mayor, wholeheartedly. There's no way that anything that's going to pass in moving a large block of money out quickly is going to happen. So again, that's not my intent, never was. My intention is trying to structure something long-term that works for the residents, and if we do that, you know, to take place long after we're out of here, that's fine with me too, as long as the city is protected to be able to attract that talent. So I'd like to maybe, I'm on board with the thinking that, you know, I don't think we have to have it on this year's election pathway. I think we can structure something over the next period of time, and maybe do that some future cows, where we think about, you know, how do we stepwise this thing into the future, and just avoid us being any beneficiary of that stepwise process. So, you know, that's where I'm at. I'm just kind of like a holistic view on it. I'd rather contribute to the city itself into the future, and have those people compensated in a better method that's more equitable to the analytics that are involved, as opposed to enriching ourselves. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Lehman?
Yeah. I still stand, yeah, I am standing by my, now, it, actually what it comes down to is it's a 3% increase because the COLA varies from year to year. But on C, where it, I'm having a problem with where it says public hearing, subject to public hearing and public comment. I think it needs to be more than that. It definitely, I don't think council should be able to increase salary or, because of the whole egg on our face, so to speak, from the stipend. I think any kind of an increase anywhere at all for council should go to a public vote, should go to a referendum. But I still, I don't think anymore, given the current economy, no more than a 3% increase, which is what the rest of the city got, and I think it needs to stay there. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other lights on, I think the next step here is, I think we have two choices here. Status quo or future discussions at a later date. Is pretty much, it sounds like that's where we're at this point in time. And then we can, if it is further discussion at a later date, then, then we all can bring back whatever suggestions at that time we may have. So, Councilmember Kaduka, I guess we'll start with you.
Future discussion at a later date.
Status quo.
I don't want it on this ballot. I don't want it this year's ballot. I wouldn't mind talking about into the future, setting something up for future councils, but I don't want it on this ballot.
That sounds like status quo.
Yeah.
Status quo for me.
Future discussion. Status quo.
Councilmember Lastrip?
Yes, sir, status quo.
And I wasn't really, what's the votes, 4-4?
5-3. 5-3, status quo.
Okay, so status quo. All right. All right, so we will move on to the next topic. It's 4.11, which was vacancy forfeitures of office. Following the vacancies, currently the vacancies, the office of mayor of the city council shall become vacant upon the mayor or city council's death, resignation, or removal from office in any manner authorized by law or forfeiture of the person's office. It goes on to say that forfeiture of office, the mayor and city council member shall forfeit his or her office if he or she lacks at any time during the terms of the office or qualifications for the office prescribed by the charter or by applicable law. Looks like number 2 violates any express prohibitions in the charter. Number 3 is convicted of any felony. 4 fails to attend 3 consecutive regular meetings without cause. It goes on to talk about, some other things that I don't think is applicable with the recommendation. So I won't read, well, maybe it is talking about filling the vacancies. I'll go ahead and read it. Filling the vacancies of the council shall be filled by the remainder of the unexpired term, if any, at the next city general election following not less than 60 days upon the occurrence of the vacancy, but the city council by a majority vote of its remaining members shall appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy until the person elected serves the remainder of the unexpired term and takes office. If the council fails to do so within a 30-day following the occurrence of the vacancy, the council shall call a special election to fill the vacancy to be held no sooner than 90 days and no later than 120 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, and otherwise governed by the provisions of Article 8 unless 3 or more candidates qualified for the vacancy whereby a special primary election is required. The special primary election shall occur within the time frame provided above, but no sooner than 90 days and not no later than 120 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, and a special general election shall be held within 45 days following the certification of a special primary election results, notwithstanding any requirements for the quorum of the council. If at any time the members of the council is reduced to less than a quorum, the remaining members may be the majority action appointed additional members to raise the membership to meet the requirements of a quorum. So what was proposed? In a vacancy, the office of a mayor and a city council member shall be vacant upon the mayor or city council member's death, resignation, removal of office in any manner authorized by law, or forfeiture of the person's office. Forfeiture of office, the mayor or council member shall forfeit his or her office if she lacks at any time during the term of the office any qualifications for office prescribed in the charter or by applicable law. Or, number two, who violates an express prohibition of the charter. Number three, is convicted of a felony, or four, fails to attend 3 consecutive noticed, and I think that's the key word, noticed city council members' meetings of the council without being excused by council. So that's basically, again, 3 consecutive noticed city council meetings. So that could be a special, a committee of the whole, a general, any of those. So that's what was proposed. Also, on the next page, C, that was pretty much,
Last line.
Last sentence.
yeah, the last line that was added. Should any seat on the city council become vacant for any reason, such vacancy shall be filled in accordance with 4.07 and the following. When the vacancy occurs causing an unexpected term of more than 2 years in duration, the vacancy shall be filled at the next scheduled city general election, but the city council shall appoint by majority vote a person eligible to hold office pursuant to 4.02 to fill the vacancy until the person's elected to serve the remainder of the unexpired term takes place. And we had that, I believe, here recently when Councilmember Lastra took over a couple years ago, or she had to run, and that was only for a two-year term, to make sure we stay on the same cycle. When a vacancy occurs causing an unexpired term of less than 2 years in duration, the vacancy shall be filled at the next scheduled city general election, but the council shall appoint by a majority vote a person to hold office pursuant to 4.02 to fill the vacancy until the person is elected to serve the new term takes office. And number three, if the council fails to appoint an eligible replacement to fill the vacancy within the 30 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, a special election shall be called to fill the balance of the remaining term. If any such special election shall be held no sooner than the 90 days or no later than 180 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, and will otherwise be governed by the provisions of Article 8 unless 3 or more candidates qualify for the vacancy, in which case a special primary election will be required. If a special primary election is required under 4.11C3, it shall be held no sooner than 90 days, no later than 120 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, and the special general election shall be held 45 days following the certification of the special primary election results. And lastly, number 4, notwithstanding any requirements for a quorum of the council contained elsewhere in the charter, if the membership of the council is reduced to less than a quorum at the time by reason of vacancy, the remaining members of the council may be a majority action appointed additional members to raise the membership to meet the requirement of the quorum. So that's what the recommended change is. So with that, I will start with Councilmember Kaduke, as far as to see if we get the supermajority to move forward, or if we're going to have further discussion on this particular item. So, Councilmember Kaduke?
Sure.
Yes.
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 Yes with an asterisk, and something that I brought up that I think is an issue, and because it's never been explained to me other than, hey, well, that's the way it was before the change, and that's if in fact a primary needs to be held in a special election, it appears that we're actually giving less time to hold 2 elections than we are to give 1. And I thought if we're gonna make this change, that we might want to address that if it wasn't caught before, if there isn't some explanation that I haven't heard yet. And that is that in number 3, you've got no sooner than 90 days and no later than 180 days. But then if in fact a primary has to be held, it's no sooner than 90 days, but no later than 120. And then the second election has to come within 45 days, which is a total of 165 days. So on the outside, you're giving yourself 165 days to conduct 2 elections, where in item 3, we're giving ourselves 180 days to hold 1 election. So if things need to be sped up, because of holding 2, you certainly can move the 1 maximum to 120, but I would say then that next, instead of 45 days, should be 60 days, to at least give yourself the same 180 days to conduct 2 elections instead of 1. So absolutely, I have no problem with being on the ballot, but why don't we clean that up too while it's there? That's it, thanks.
I'm fine with it the way it is.
Councilmember Lastra?
Yes.
Okay, I think we have a supermajority to move it forward in the way that it is now. So we'll move on. Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, I just want to make a general comment if we're through
Sure.
this. I think we're done, right?
Yes.
Through them all? I just wanted to comment to the Charter Review Committee that certainly their efforts are very much appreciated. I just think that timing is not correct, and the longer-term benefit, I think, in doing something long-term as opposed to rushing anything through this election is beneficial, so your efforts are appreciated. Richard, thank you. If you could pass it on. Richard, you pass it on to the rest of the Charter Committee. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, that's all of the items that were recommended by the Charter Review Commission. So at this time, I will open up any additional discussions or any other items that we want to consider. And then after that, I'll go to staff, see if they have any recommendations. And I'll also go to the city attorney. So with that being said, Councilmember Kilrain, is your light on
I'm
from
all
before?
done, yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Councilmember Donnell?
Yes, we're done with the exercise. I was just curious,
We're only done with the exercise on the recommendations
Right.
from the Charter Commission.
could you give me clarity, Mr. City Attorney, as why would have an issue like this have to go on what do you call the first one? The first election is a what?
Primary.
The primary. I was kind of confused as to what is the purpose of why would we need to have that same language in the primary and then move it to the general? In my head, we just put it on the general.
You could choose to put some on the primary and you could choose to put some on the general.
Understanding. So I guess as council, I'm trying to figure out the benefit of putting, it doesn't matter which one on the primary, because it's, we want to give the residents, there's a lot of words, they get confused. It seemed one shot at it in the general would make more sense to me. But, I just want to see if you all had any thoughts on that, but I don't see it,
And you all don't
here
have to
and
make
there.
that, you all don't have to make that decision now. Like I said, I'm gonna have to bring you all the final version of the charter amendment, the ballot language. It'll be in ordinance form. At that point in time, if there is approval of it, you can then identify whether or not you want it on the general or the primary.
Okay, and so something for us to think about. Last point, I was on the side that lost, but those who were on the prevailing side, Just a thought, when we were talking about, when we eliminated specifically that one about those single-member districts, my thought at that time that it eliminated it because we thought we had we had to whittle the list down. So with that being said, just an appeal for those of you all, I know we have personal opinions about it, but that's one I really think needs to go. Now that we can put whatever we need to and let the voters decide, because it is like 50-50 out there. So I'd much rather the voters make that decision than us, now that we don't have to whittle it down. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Long?
Well, I guess did we want to discuss that, or I was going to move on to an additional item for discussion, but if there's any further dialogue, I guess, related to that, we can go there first.
Okay, so you want to talk about single-member districts again? I can't recall what it had to be at least 5, I guess, that decided. I guess the million-dollar question is, do we want to open that back up and have another discussion or no on that particular topic? So why don't we go down and see if we got 5 first?
I'll take my light off.
And then I'll give you back the floor.
Understood, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Cadet?
Yes, and I was a yes back then for putting it on the ballot. I do think the voters should decide.
Thank you.
Yes, for me.
No.
No. Councilmember Laster?
I'm a no.
Okay, all right, sounds like we're still in the same place. All right, Councilmember Long, I'll give the floor back to you, sir.
Yeah, so I guess I understand this is kind of where we bring up maybe some additional topics that weren't brought forward by the charter. I hinted at this previously. As many of you know, I'm a strong advocate for strong mayor form of government. Right now, obviously, we run under a city or a council manager form of government or a weak mayor form of government. And to me, that's a flawed system because at its root, it places the most powerful person in the city government outside of the reach of the voters. And so that's going to be the city manager, right? And so you guys have the benefit of knowing this, but for the public at home, the city manager currently controls all the day-to-day operations, the hiring of the department heads, directs all department heads, the entire budget process. And so as far as the budget's concerned, how that budget is framed, structured, and explained to council to make decisions, what information is emphasized, what information is minimized, how financial staff are directed to present it to complex fiscal decisions to frankly a non-expert part-time counsel. And so on the other side of that, this person is someone that's not elected. They can't be voted out by the public. They suffer no direct consequences at the ballot box. When budgets balloon and public trust erodes, unfortunately right now that falls on us as frankly policymakers. And so again, you guys know this, but in a strong mayor form of government, basically all of those things are flipped on their head. How do we fix it? How do we implement a strong mayor form of government? Well, we often look to our peers. If you look to the top, I think 5 out of the 7 cities that are larger than us, they all implement a strong mayor form of government. So they figured it out. To me, it's time to put our big boy pants on. I think that's the way that this thing needs to go moving forward in order for us to grow in the way that we need to. As far as what the strong mayor would fix, it's all those things. So someone that's directly responsible for executive leadership, they direct the departments, they propose the budget. But most importantly, again, this core tenet is that they answer directly to the people every election cycle. So as far as figuring out whether this thing works, we don't really have to guess. It most recently just worked for the same reasons with the school district. You had they decided whether or not they wanted to put it to the voters, and they ultimately did, whether the superintendent of the school board should be an elected official versus an appointed official. That ultimately passed by the public with a supermajority, and immediately you see the results. You've got greater transparency, direct accountability, most importantly, for me, the measurable budget reductions, fiscal responsibility. The budget they just announced, every one of their departments slashed spending by 5%, which resulted in tens of millions of dollars in savings. And again, the idea is when leadership became directly accountable at the ballot box, fiscal control followed. And so that's the root, that's the basis. This isn't an attack on the city manager individually. For me, it's an attack on the system. And so I just want to put that to you guys. I think that the voters deserve to at least make this decision. So I'm not asking you to make the decision. We're ultimately just asking whether we want the people to do that. And I would urge you all to consider that. Thank you.
Okay, open up for any discussions on that particular topic. And if we do not have any discussion, then I guess we'll go down the line to determine.
Mayor, can I speak?
Yes, go ahead. I'll let you go ahead first.
I'm pushing my virtual button. I agree. I've done a lot of research on the mayor form of government, strong mayor form of government. I think our city, we're getting to the size where we should consider that, or at least allow the voters to choose. I think everything that Councilmember Long stated was true. I looked into it, I think way back when it came up with the Charter Review Committee, and I know that there wasn't support on that committee for it, but I just feel like, we're growing, and I like the accountability factor. I agree. I think our system is flawed. I think the accountability piece is spot on. So I would definitely support this to go on the ballot and allow the residents to decide. Thank you, Mayor.
Council, well, let me get Mr. City Manager. I'm going to go through all the council first, and then I'll come back to you. Councilmember Steinke?
Thank you. My concern in that is knowing what the job of the city manager is and the scope of the work that's done, especially on a city of our size and stature. That job needs to be done by absolutely the most highly qualified person. And that's not to say that person lives in Cape Coral at this moment. And so to have the checks and balances there to hire someone to do that job with the number of employees, the number of departments, the size of the budget, the massive size of the city itself, we have to have the right person in that job. And if our current city manager were to be run over by a truck tomorrow, I would want to look outside of the city for that person. With that being said, who's to say that if that job is now going to be filled by an elected official, that we have a candidate that would run for that position with those types of qualifications, that it would then be their responsibility to do those sorts of things. And the thought that the mayor would be in charge of day-to-day operations, that would be in charge of the fiscal responsibility, that would be in charge of that, in my opinion, that requires a hiring process. And so I couldn't support it. For those reasons, I couldn't support it, in that the qualifications required to actually be put in charge of all of those things, I think is a more lengthy process, and I think needs to be a competitive process. And the scope of candidates needs to come from a broader base than what might necessarily be inside of the city limits of Cape Coral.
Thank you. Councilmember Kadouk?
Thank you, Mayor. I strongly agree with putting this on the ballot. I believe that our residents think we do have a strong mayor form of government, and I think with more research, they're going to see that we don't. And you said it earlier, that you have people reach out to you and they think that you have more power than you do. Right now, you're the council member that runs the meeting. So in a strong mayor form of government, that is what the population thinks we do have, and we don't. So I support it going on the ballot. Thank you.
Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, I'm totally against it. Basically, I think that in order to have a operational, functional process in place for running the city, you have to have someone with the experience level across a lot of parameters that the average Joe on the street or the average mayor candidate on the street isn't going to bring to the table. And it's a matter of not only doing it now with that capability, but having the experience of the city behind you and having had similar responsibilities in the past to be able to do that. Running if you look at the portfolio of capital projects along with your operational piece, it's a close to $5 billion job over a period of years. So the point is that's a significant management capacity that needs to be brought to the table. I think that we're fortunate right now in having a mayor that has a lot of capability and probably could step in for a little bit to operate that. But that's not going to happen all the time, and it's only because our mayor's been around for a long time and understands the city. I'm trying to diverse personality from this. I think we're blessed right now in having someone with the talent base come up through the ranks who has the capacity to run an operation of all those requirements necessary, contractual, the management leadership capacity, and he's not a policymaker. There's no doubt about it. The board, the council sets the policy. And the policy is really something that's in the public domain that people should have the right to discuss. But everyone has their opinion about how to run something. And if, the mayor is going to be tasked with running the city too, he's going to get criticized upside down even more so than our mayor, who makes all our decisions right now anyway, right? Isn't that what everybody says? So, basically, our mayor right now picks up a lot of the weight for what this council does, and not justifiably so. And I think that, that what we have to do, we got an education process with the electorate in teaching him that council is responsible for the policies, not only the mayor. And, to burden the mayor with all that baggage is not right, whoever the mayor might be. And the operation of the city is a separate entity. That's making the trains and the planes run on time. And that's a special skill set that someone on the street just doesn't bring to the table. If we find somebody like that, they're probably not going to be happy in a mayor's position because they won't have to be subject to the public scrutiny all the time. So I'm totally against it for those reasons. I think we're paralleling more of a private sector mechanism by having the strong city manager type of government. I would like to see it stay that way. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Donnell?
Yeah, I think that this is one of those that we really, everyone has an opinion about it, but I don't think we're in a position sitting right here today to say, let's put it on the ballot, because there are a lot of issues that we need to get the data. We need to run it through our charter review, because it will be a substantial change to our charter, which is fine. But I would submit to the council that that's something, if we want to go that route, let's get the data, let's get some people to look at it over months. Let's have a discussion with some public input, and then we can put it out. But we are way too far in front of this for something of that magnitude just to put it on the ballot at this point. So I'm not even talking about my feelings about it. We just don't have any information about how that would play out in this city specifically. So I'm strongly against that today for putting it on this ballot for this year. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Lehman, you want to weigh in at all?
I honestly feel that it needs to go on the ballot.
Can you turn your mic on?
Could you make sure your mic's on?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I think it needs to go on the ballot. I think that the citizens need to be able to weigh into this and know what's really going on, know what's going on and be involved in the whole situation. As to whether it's a strong mayor type of government or we continue the way it is, I think that's a decision that needs to be up to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Long, was your light on?
It is, I'd like to speak again if I could.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was the point, and I don't want to get misconstrued here. We're not making this decision. I think we're deciding whether or not the people should make the decision. So depriving them of that opportunity, I think, would be a grave mistake. Just two things to clear up with regards to, and I hear this misconception a lot when this discussion is brought up about the city manager and their duties and they're trained. You'd be naive to think that the way that strong mayor governments operate, that there isn't that same individual that works right underneath the strong mayor and assists in those day-to-day operations. Usually it's a chief administration officer or something of that effect. Every one of them works that way. So you still have that experience, you still have that operational control, but now they have someone that's above them that is directly accountable to the electorate. So that's a point I just wanted to reiterate. And really that's it. I think, the basis is right now we have a staff-driven government, whether you guys want to face that reality or not. And so to put that to the people, to let them decide, I think they deserve to have that decision put before them. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Mayor, may I speak again?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things as well. You know, I understand to Councilmember Steinke's point as well as Councilmember Kilrain. I guess I look at it a little differently. You know, you always hear during election cycles talking about quality of candidates. And to me, if the people were to decide if this is the route we want to go in our city, then naturally we would get higher qualified candidates. So I think that's something, you know, that I'm considering that I ask you all to consider too. You know, it would be a big job. I mean, Mike's job, we all see it. It's not easy. Managing $1.4 billion with us is a challenge, and we know we always have room for improvement. But I just think that, you know, if you get the higher qualified candidates to run in that role, that would definitely elevate our city. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, I just want to address the accountability piece with respect to the city manager and other employees who work for the council. If the accountability isn't being detailed and held to as a result, it's really council. We collectively have that responsibility. The mayor could have that same responsibility, strong mayor government, but today we own that responsibility. And if he's not getting held accountable, and if other people reporting to us are not getting accountable, look to yourself for not holding them accountable. Because each one of us participate in that process. And if we think that we're allowing them to fly loose and goosey, it's our problem. We own that problem. So, and that isn't going to change if you have strong mayor or weak mayor. Whoever that person is or those individuals are, it's their responsibility to make sure that accountability is done. And I feel comfortable that we're doing that properly. So thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you. I had previously had discussions with Councilmember Long about this, so that you all know him and I have had spirited discussion for over a year about this. I knew this was on his mind, and we've shared dialogue back and forth, and I appreciate everything that has been brought up. There's a few points that I think are relevant for you all to consider. I know the characterization is we have a staff-run government. I will tell you, you have a professional-run government. We run on a standard of principles, ethics, and policies. In most cases, someone who's running an organization that is accountable to the voters runs on the voter who's before them. That's how they run the organization. And I'm not saying that just because I think that's how it works. There are studies out there. IBM performed one of them. And that study showed that a city management and a government that was run by a professional city manager was 10% more efficient than one that was run by an elected official. 10%, so think about that. Just on our last year's $1.1 billion budget. If there's an issue with accountability with a professional city manager, 5 of you can handle that next week, next month. If there's an issue with an elected official, you have to get the requisite amount to even get on the ballot. You could be stuck with it for 4 years, unless there's a criminal violation and then the governor removes it. There's way more accountability to the electorate with a professional form of government than an elected. And you can get that accountability much quicker. I will present information to you all more as we move along. You heard Councilmember Long just today say, well, if we have an elected mayor, they're going to need to hire more staff. Chief of staff's one of them, I guess that's what they're called. I haven't looked it up.
Well, that would be the
But-
equivalent of 4 deputy city managers.
But a similar, the position doesn't go away, you just retitle it. So that it's not as a cost savings immediately is born by going that direction. And then, I was gonna say something regarding, the electorate, but to get to that hurdle of removing a city manager, or removing a mayor over a city manager is much greater. If I did something wrong that was immoral, illegal, you all can handle that tomorrow. If not this mayor, so please, if a mayor who is a strong mayor does something the electorate doesn't like, then it becomes a battle between council and the mayor, in the public. Whereas the four or five of you can handle that immediately. So I will continue to share stuff. I understand where you all are at, and I am humbled by the opportunity to sit in this position every day. I say that even in the discussions I've had with Councilmember Long. I understand it is definitely an electorate decision for something of that change. My goal, if this moves forward, will be to make sure that the electorate has the information needed to understand what a change of that magnitude would bring. Thank you.
Councilmember Steinke.
Yeah, I'm certainly not opposed to giving citizens the opportunity to make determinations by having things on ballots, although there's domino effects to decisions that are made. And in addition to what I've previously said, you know, we just said that now is not the time to have anything that relates to compensation on the ballot. Yet we are willing, sounds like, by some, to have something on the ballot to give all of those responsibilities that through a recent compensation study for what a professional city manager should be compensated came in at that $300,000 level. So now what we want to do and what we're talking about is let's give all those responsibilities that a study just proved requires $300,000 plus to someone that we've just said analytics show deserves $100,000 in the current form that they're in. Well, let's not talk about compensation. Let's just put all the weight of running this city and 2,000 employees and almost 5,000 lane miles of roads and a canal system
100 miles.
that's not matched anywhere on the globe. Let's give all those responsibilities to the mayor. So should we ever want to change that form of government where we had to attract the type of candidate that would be elected, that would have the acumen to fulfill those responsibilities, well, we better be looking at the whole package. Otherwise, we could be in a severe mess really quickly. And so I'll leave it at that.
Councilmember Law?
Yeah, I'm not even going to address that part. I think it's a circular argument. You talk about not putting $20,000 additional in compensation and then saying you're willing to pay somebody else that. I just said, that would be consumed by one of the 2, 3, 4 executive positions that sit underneath the manager now, as far as those salaries, even if you doubled them and cut those in half. But with regards to one other thing, since a couple different times we've kicked things down the road during this discussion today in other sections of the charter, this isn't something that's going to happen tomorrow. If we say, yeah, we put it on the ballot now, at a minimum, it gets implemented in 4 years. We have a new mayor that serves a 4-year term in this coming election. So if this got
2030.
if this got approved in the same election on a referendum, At the very earliest, you'd have to let that mayor that just got elected on that same ballot run his 4-year term under the duties for which he ran.
2030.
So when we say the time's not right, and at a minimum, 4 years if we make that decision today. And it might even be 6, but it was 6 at one point when I was looking at it, but it was probably a couple of years ago. So at a minimum, 4 years from now is what I'm getting at. Formative years, significantly important years. That if we say, hey, even if we waited for 4 years, now you're looking at 8. If we put it on the ballot in 2 cycles, now it's 6 years from now. So the problem compounds. I can guarantee you that in this city's future that we will be operating under a strong mayor form of government. It's just whether we wait too long for it to have a positive impact or not. And that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Donnell.
So you're saying that if the council were to move this forward on the vote today, it would be on which ballot?
If it was on this coming ballot and was approved, then it wouldn't go into effect for 4 more years. Because the mayor is also up for election, whoever that might be, and they have a 4-year term that they have to serve under the current charter system.
Okay, I understand. I would just say to you all,
I would imagine.
very succinctly as possible,
Has to be.
this is a huge decision, and up to now, we have the information, we need more information. You just don't throw it up there and say, oh, to the public. I certainly support, I have said, the public needs to make the decision, but we need to do our due diligence to inform them of all aspects, both what it would look like, because it is not as simple as it's being portrayed. It's okay, let's put it on the ballot and let them vote. That's not how this is going to work. It would be a mistake. But of course, we are one council. It would be a mistake. That's all.
Councilmember Long.
It's not my desire to make the final decision today and have it passed along on the ballot. It's basically to say, let's start drafting the language, let's see what that looks like, let's educate the public. I thought that's what we were doing here today. So to that same point, this isn't we're not banging the gavel and it's done and you can't go back. I'm just saying, let's, at the very least, I think the residents deserve for us to flesh this out and see where we go with it.
Yeah, I think it's important, no matter any of our discussions here today, it's got to come back for a formalized vote by the city attorney once he formalizes the whatever the referendum language is going to be, and we'll have to vote on each one of those items. So today's discussion was mainly to move items forward so the city attorney's office can work on those particular items. For me, as far as a city manager form of government or a strong mayor form of government, I don't think it's any of our decisions at all. And I think we are the last people that should be making that determination. So for me, that is something, back in 1970 when our city was incorporated, they chose a city manager form of government. And that's what they chose. Now, our city is 7th largest city here in the state of Florida. We're a growing city. We're surely going to be a top 5 city at some point in time. So for me, the decision's not ours. It's the citizens, all 230,000 people in this city. They feel that a city manager form of government is the better way to go, and I think we could sit here all day long and say the benefits and what's not a benefit with a strong mayor form of government, and we could do the same with a city manager form of government. We could sit here all afternoon and go through those. But the fact of the matter is, this isn't our decision, it's their decision. And so for me, I'm good either way. I think our city manager does a great job. But this is more, I think, for the future of our city, more so than today. And so for that reason, I would support giving the voters the choice, not us. This isn't a choice for us. And whatever they want to do, that's what we'll do, just like on the other 4 or 5 items that we decided today to move forward. Just because we said we're moving it forward, all that's doing is giving the city attorney the direction to formalize the language, and we'll vote on it at a later time, the same way we will on this topic. So when that comes back forward, if one of us doesn't like the language that the city attorney drafted, if it's 5-3 today, for a consensus for the city attorney to work on it, whatever that vote is will make a determined factor whether it moves forward or not. So for that reason, I have no problem letting the city attorney draft the language. We can look at it at a later time, and once I see the language, for me personally, then I'll decide if I'm going to support it or not support it. But I have no problem with at least taking a look at it, seeing what the language looks like, how the criteria is, and then make that determination on a vote, and then, like I said, leave it up to the citizens of the community. I don't think this is something that we should be doing as a council. So that's where I'm at on it. Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, I just had a question. Do we need a supermajority to move this forward, or just a simple majority?
Yeah, I think just like we've done the rest. Yep. So seeing, you got,
Quick question.
yep,
In the referendum and in the legislation, is there an opportunity to kind of spell out a transition plan as Councilmember Long talked about? It wouldn't happen for 4 years or maybe 6 years along the way. Is there something that would say that if in fact it was approved by the voters, that there are certain numbers of things that need to happen along the way so that all those things have been done over that 4-year, 6-year period in time? What for me, I have no problem with being on the ballot. My problem is that it's not a magic wand that all of a sudden now we switch and there's no plan of how to get there. That's my concern. Because it's a huge shift that we will have to spend the appropriate amount of time educating our citizens on the, what that decision really means and all the things that need to happen along the way. And there needs to be a commitment to make all those things happen along the way to shift to that form of government. It's not just as simple as saying, okay, now it's not your job anymore, now it's your job. And if we don't like the way you're doing your job, then we won't elect you next time, we'll get somebody else in. It's way more complicated than that, and so for it just to be a yes, no, we're gonna switch forms on this date, that's my concern. So for me now, to develop a majority vote come down, I say yes, put it out there. But if the verbiage that comes back is such that puts us at risk, if the answer was yes, if on that November night and this referendum passes, and there was no plan to get us there by the date that it would be, implemented, that's a scary thing for me to be a citizen in the city that would go through that type of change. So, will what you bring back to us have anything to do with transition to that form of government?
No.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, and I'm not gonna speak on behalf of Councilmember Long, if this was something that you all approved, it's gonna require me to alter the charter extensively, probably with a prospective date as Councilmember Long and I were discussing. It would be, let's say I get it on the ballot for the 26th general election, let's say it is approved, I got a mayor election as well, that's a 4-year term, so arguably it'll be effective 2030. So at 2030, you would have a mayor that will run for the strong mayor. At that point in time, that person is elected, will then have his own organization, right? It will have his own, and they're set up differently. Some call it chief of staff, some call it a city administrator, but it's the mayor that ultimately is in charge of it, and all the other ones will report to him. So to answer your question, no, because that's something that will be the responsibility of the individual strong mayor that is elected in 2030. And once they assume the position of that strong mayor, it'll be incumbent upon them to obtain their own staff. So if I can use it in the sense of the federal election, right? We have a president elected in November, but they don't take office in January. There is a transitionary period. I can write that in there, but it will require, as the mayor-elect, to work with then the existing staff at that point in time for that transitionary period. But that's something that would happen every 4 years. You would push it out to allow for that transitionary period to occur.
Right.
It does at the federal level.
I'm sorry?
It does at the federal level.
Right.
Yeah, that's just the
That's
process.
the only way I could resolve, that's the only way I can do this competently to avoid as much disruption as possible, but. And then
Take
I'm gonna have to
offense to
sit-
the
and
word
I'm gonna-
disrupting.
And I'm gonna have to sit down and actually like go through it, because you talked about some things right now that'll become a nullity. Because the mayor will be removed from that. The mayor will not be part of the council at that point in time. Depending on how I put it, and there's just a number of different ways, and there's a number of different ways to set it up where the mayor is not part of the council. The mayor is essentially the chief executive officer, right? And there's a city administrator as the chief operating officer.
And the council, you have a chair.
Correct. And then the mayor, the strong
Thank you.
mayor, has certain authority that could be overridden by the council.
Supermajority.
So and there's different forms of strong mayor governments in the state of Florida. And so I don't know where you all are at, and so I'm gonna try to get, if there seems to be some interest in moving this forward to the 2026 election. I'm gonna have to sit down and find out probably those cities, Tampa, West Palm Beach, I think St. Petersburg, Orlando. Yeah, and find out what I believe are the options and try to present something for you all to approve. That's the only way I could conceive of doing this, and it's a substantial change to your existing charter. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, Councilmember Laster, you have any more comments before, I think we'll go down the line and see if this is, it's either yes, we want to move something like this forward, or no. Do you have any other comments first?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Kadook?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Councilmember
Yes.
Laster? I'm sorry, I spoke over you.
Oh, yes.
What is that?
That's 5.
5-3.
Okay,
So the other ones are almost inconsequential, that we talked about. My goal is, based on this, is I'm gonna shoot for the general election. That'll give me the most amount of time to get something before you all, because I do have to restructure the entire charter. And then I also have to be mindful of the fact that what you did today we may want to do away with that. And the reason why I say that is because there are going to be inconsistencies now. And if one passes and the other one fails, then I've got a problem. So I'll get that all to you. Right now, this is the more pressing matter. But my goal is that it would be on the general election. That will be my target date. So I'm going to try to get it to you well in advance of that so you guys could at least see it. I'm going to put it on a committee of the whole. And probably give you all the different other charter options that are out there for the strong mayor form of government that are somewhat comparable, so that you all can decide what you like and what you don't like, because it may require me to modify that.
yeah, just one quick comment. For me, I think what I would like to see, because of course, we don't know where this is going to end up, first of all. And secondly, we don't even know if we're going to have a majority vote once he brings it back to us. But just let's assume that there isn't a majority vote to move this forward. I think what would be in the best interest for us and for the community is, in the primary, have all the ones that we spoke about before this in the primary, to see if they pass. That way, if it fails, if the strong mayor form of government fails in the general, at least we've cleaned up some of the language under the city manager form of government that we spoke about today. And then maybe with the city for a strong mayor, I'm sure there's going to be some language in the ballot that, that there's going to be a charter change, whether that's by ordinance. I don't know, were you planning on writing a whole new charter? Or were you,
I have to.
you have to?
I've got to go through and,
Okay, all right.
Well, but the charter wouldn't go into effect until
Yeah.
that same year.
So
oh, you're talking about,
Well, you're saying it's redundant, but it's not really redundant, because if we make changes that we've contemplated here today, those would be in effect for the 4 years
for the
until,
next, for the
by
next.
default.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not even a question.
right.
So I just don't want you to
Right, that-
advertently scare those members up here that might be
No, no, no.
misunderstanding.
Only then we would have to then go
Correct.
back and, in 2028, if it were to pass.
And clean that up,
Clean
which
that
we would have 4 years to
We're
do.
talking 2030. right?
Correct.
2030 is when it would become effective, right? There would be an election in November of 2030, but then I would probably put some lead time in, probably just like January or something, to allow for a transitionary period. And I'd probably have that every year happen, because that's the only way I can,
You have an inauguration day, kind of.
I have to, because if it's gonna be a new one every year, there's a process, I'm well aware, where they will reappoint the city administrator, reappoint the public works director. There's all that happens during that interim period. It doesn't have to be January, it could be December. We could all have that conversation, whatever period of time is necessary. Maybe it's only a 30-day period, that's all that's necessary, and then you all go on a break. So those are all viable options. But I'll have to bring that all before you. You all have to make that decision.
Okay. Got a couple lights on here. Councilmember Kilrain, did you?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if it was the 30th,
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Councilmember Steinke, was that on before? Oh, one more time? All right. Are you done, Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
Councilmember Steinke.
Thank you. So, Mr. City Attorney, if I understand what you just said correctly, and what was discussed as far as which ballot to put what on, if the lesser issues, if you will, were on the primary, that solved some of the issues that have been brought up. And then on the general election, the form of government was on, and it passed. And there were some conflicts because of what was passed, if you will, in the primary. We would have that given midterm election in 28 to go back and fix those ones that may have been caused by the referendums that hit the primary ballot.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and just to Councilmember Long's point, technically, it would not become effective until 2030, right? And so you would have, whatever it is that we do on the primary would be effective for that essentially that 4-year or 2-year period, and we would then correct that in 2028. So to answer your question, yes, because it really wouldn't be effective until the 2030 year. And we could fix it in 2028.
Which also sounds like, based on what you said for transition, would actually be January of 2031.
That will be up to you all. The election will be in November, whatever that November 30th date is. Whatever transitionary period that you want to put in there is up to you. Could it be 14 days? Absolutely. Could it be a week? Sure, why not? I really can't speak to that because I'm not really sure where you all are at. Could it be 30 days? It could. But that just and that's just if you look at the federal election, it's all that same, that transitionary period where you take final full office and then you assume the responsibility. So I'm just kind of mirroring it under that scenario.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other lights on that discussion, any other topics? Councilmember Kadook?
Yes, thank you. I think that it would be important for us to put the yacht club on the ballot. It is a general obligation bond that we would be taking out, which is exactly what our voters need to vote on.
Okay. And are you talking about for the financing aspect of it, for?
Yeah, if we're gonna be at 225 million plus, they should be saying yes or no. If they say no, we know we have to completely scale back and do what we can afford.
Okay, all right. So I'll open up for that discussion. Councilmember Kilrain.
I think it's premature to have a determination whether it should be on the ballot or not at this point. I think that we have to really cross the bridge of the RFIs, bring the RFIs in and see what we might be able to glean from that process, whether we have a financial contributor that allow it to make sense in that format, and then based on that, assuming that we didn't receive something, we could think about scaling it back and then maybe have that proposal brought forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Kadouk?
Even if we scaled it back, where does the money come from? The voters.
Councilmember Steinke?
Thank you, Mayor. I see both points that have already been made. I absolutely agree with the fact that we don't even know what kind of money yet, because we don't know what type of a P3 we might be involved with, and so I would believe that the verbiage in the referendum would have to be authorizing a certain amount of money in a bond that we don't know how much that is, and until we get the results back, we don't know whether we would even need it. You know, if we get a big player that come in here that wants to foot quite a bit of the bill because of the operational opportunity they'll have, it might not be as big a point as it is right now. We've got some time before we have to come up with something. I think it would be in our best interest to see what type of results we get from the RFIs, to see if it warrants it being done. The question that was asked of the city attorney a little bit earlier is from the standpoint of when we were going to get these back to us, and it was going to be in January. I think the real answer is when's the drop dead date to get things to you, where if we got these RFIs back by the end of the year and we were to bring those to COW and discuss the potential interest that we have in those P3s, if we then said, well, hey, there's no interest at all. Yeah, it's going to have to be all it's taxpayer funded. Well, then we should be able to put together some verbiage for a referendum at that point. Would that not be true?
Here's what I can tell you, that for the August 18th primary, the deadline is April 20th of 2026. For the general election, which is November 30th of 2026, the absolute deadline is July 6th.
So for us to wait, I think Councilmember Kilrain used the term premature, but it may not be super premature, like not in this election cycle, but it might be like right now, do we really need to do that before we see what results we get from the RFIs? In your opinion, Mr. City Attorney, if we have the opportunity to review the results of the RFIs through January, if we were to bring you something in February based on the results of the RFIs that says, hey, we know we're going to need X amount of funding, can you put together verbiage for a referendum? Is that going to be too late?
So I guess I need to probably clear something out. When you say an RFI, which is a request for interest, I don't think we're doing a request for interest. What I have on today's council meeting is a designation, a resolution designating the yacht club as a qualifying project pursuant to the public-private partnership statute, right? The notion behind that is should there be someone that's prepared to present us with an unsolicited proposal, they'll be able to do that, and we've already identified that as a qualifying project. Then the question boils down to what the financial components is of that unsolicited proposal, which I couldn't speak to that because I really wouldn't know until such time that that is received, that's reviewed, and whether or not we're prepared to move forward as a comprehensive agreement that is beneficial to the city, which is a distinction from actually putting out a competitive solicitation. That we could do, but I don't think that's never been done, right, by the city, the council, for the yacht club. Request for proposal on something to do it. So we're dealing more with the sense of seeing if there's a public-private partnership where someone will submit something to us. And that's what the resolution ultimately does. Could something come in January or February? Absolutely, but I couldn't really tell you until I actually have the proposal in my hands.
Okay.
And so to answer your question, then I would have to find out how long it will take me, because it sounds like Councilmember Kaduke wants to do a go bond, essentially, for the $225 million. So then, to answer your question, I would have to probably find out how long it will take for me to get that together and probably circle back around with you. And I could probably do that in January for our first council meeting, since you're going on break as of the end of tonight, or I could even email it to you and let you know what is the deadline for us to get the go bond on the either primary or the general.
And so part of my point was with the decision around form of government and the volume of work that's gonna be involved in getting that done and back to us, is this something we could postpone making a decision on whether we need a referendum for this? And you having enough information to put together a referendum for this right now, would it be better for you to focus on what you've already got and then find out what happens as a result of the proposals that we may get? Or do you want to go ahead and have at it? If this body said, yes, we want this as a referendum, you ready to do that too?
If this body said you want all this as a referendum, I'm gonna make sure that it gets done,
Okay,
whatever that takes.
thank you.
Yeah, I guess for me, I kind of agree with Councilmember Kilrain now. Mr. City Manager, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought we were going to be putting out a request for information to see if there are any developers that may be interested. That's, the way he explained it, we're just going to identify it as a qualifying project and sit back and see what happens. I didn't think that was the case.
We're gonna be soliciting, so to put a go bond referendum out there for a funding mechanism
Yeah,
is ahead of understanding whether or not you even have any
right.
proposals that may solve the issue for you or parts of it. So I've been involved in go bond referendums to just say, let's put it before the voters. I mean, you don't know what, you have to have a plan of what you're gonna be funding, what you're gonna be doing.
Yeah, I guess for me,
I understand the thought, but I think the question to me is more of a non-bonding referendum of, do the voters want what is out there? Not, do we want the voters to fund what we've done? Two different things. But I'm not sure. I don't want to speak on behalf of
My
the
light's on.
council.
yeah, I guess for me, I agree with Councilmember Kilrain. We've already given staff the direction to go out and make this a qualifying project. That's what we'll be voting on tonight. Once it's a qualifying project, and they're going to go out and solicit to see if there's a developer that would be interested in a P3 with the city in order to offset the expense. For me, we have to get that question answered first. As the city attorney said, we have until July 6th, I think I wrote down.
Yeah.
That's 6.5 months. We got plenty of time. If we put the RFI out, and I don't know how long of a time period do you think when we solicit that, 30 days?
We typically do 30 days, and we have the plans, we have the ideas, but what you're gonna be asking the private sector to do is look at what we are contemplating and come up with proposals. It's not anything like Bimini East, where we've been talking about it, and we had a developer put out a bunch of information. So you're hitting people cold. I would recommend at least 60 days,
60 days?
at least.
All right, so what you're saying
They're
is,
gonna wanna get 30%, 60%, 90%, all, I mean, I basically have to build an entire presentation like we did for Bimini East that has utility availability, you know.
for the RFI? Or are you talking about for the go bond?
No, for the RFI,
Okay.
to give people enough to understand
Probably into March.
what options are out there.
So when will you have the RFI out? And then that 60-day clock starts?
Well, I think we're expecting to have the RFI out on the street after the first of the year.
Okay. So we're probably looking at beginning of March to get that back.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives us, you know, the middle to latter part of March to take a look at that.
I think if somebody comes back with a proposal, I mean, you all saw what it, just for the boathouse, you've seen what it took for well, those of you who are here at Coral Grove, I mean, anything that substantial, I don't see us getting it done in 3 months. There's financing involved.
Well, I think-
There's risk transfers, there's,
Right. So we still have, you know, April, May, even April, because, you know, we have until July. I think we have enough time there, even if the city attorney kind of just drafts you know, some type of a language where it's somewhat ready. I think we have enough time there. I think it's in our best interest and the community's best interest to wait to see if we do get a RFI, because then if we enter into a private-public partnership, it's going to reduce the burden on the taxpayer. If we go out for a go-bond referendum, that's 100% on the taxpayer, because, you know, if they elect to do it, if they choose to do it. So to me, let's at least explore the option, let that play out. I know if I was a developer and we gave the city manager direction to go out or give the city attorney direction today, hey, let's put this on a ballot. He's over here, the other guy to the right of him's working on an RFI. As a developer, I'm going to say, why am I wasting my time here? So we're almost shooting ourselves before we even get started. So I think it's important, let's let that process go through the process, see what's out there. It may not be anything, or it could be something. And then make sure that, you know, if we have to get it on the ballot after that, we will. But to me, I think it would be premature just to give a mixed signal out there in the community, because I guarantee you, if we do that, I doubt anybody will come forward then.
And
Yeah.
if I could just add on, so the resolution that you have right now is different from the procurement process. And the reason why we're doing that is to make sure that we cast a broad net. So I wanted to be clear on that. So what you have before is a recognition under the public-private statute that this is in fact a qualifying project, and we're prepared to receive an unsolicited proposal, and that administration is also putting it out there, hey, we're also available for any other type of proposals that may exist outside of the public-private statute. So we're casting a wide enough net so that we can have as many options for you as possible regarding the prospective development. So I wanted to clear that up at least.
Okay, Councilmember Long?
Thank you, Mayor. Gosh, can we call it something besides a go bond? I think I support it in principle. I think my point, I had my button pressed for a little while, was I think what we were kind of limping into was I wanted to make sure that we exhausted the options of, well, what if we ran both tracks parallel? And we directed you to at least have something or create a framework of something so that we aren't throwing that, you know, if we follow the track of the mayor and Councilman Steinke, hey, wait and see. I don't want to be in a situation where, reminder, when we did this last cycle for compensation, we got pressed up against the wall and realized, hey, look, we have to abandon this because we don't have enough time. And so I don't want that to happen. I don't want the idea to get thrown out because procedurally we said, hey, let's wait. And then like everything else in government, it takes longer than expected. And now, last minute, your office is tasked with, if there is a majority, tasked with coming up with language. So I would support the idea. Obviously, I have to flesh it out a little more. It's the first I'm hearing of it, but at least not killing the idea based on let's wait it out. So I would support it to at least start having your office draft something up. Thank you.
Councilmember Kaduc?
Thank you, Mayor. I had jotted down some notes while everyone was talking, and the reason why I even bring this up is because in 2022, our yacht club went offline due to Hurricane Ian, and it was run down long before that. And Mr. Mayor, you specifically used the language offset the cost with an RFI or RFP that we would get back in. And what if nothing comes in? And what if what comes in, we have this whole chamber full of people that are like, no, that's not what I want. That's exactly why I think we should move forward with having the go bond language ready. And if they vote no, then we know we can't do it. That's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Kilrain?
Yeah, I don't know that we're preempting that. I think that by at least giving it adequate time to hear if we have anything coming back from the RFI, we can better define what that go bond would be. And I think that there's an advantage in not having something in your back pocket that is countermeasure to a RFI success. I'm going to echo what city manager said. Basically, if the developers learn that we're looking at doing a go bond for this and self-funding, we're not going to get any bites. And so I think that from a negotiating standpoint, let's be strategic about it. You know, we're talking about this here in public, and basically anyone who wants to watch this will know that we're going to parallel a go bond, and they can pick up a smaller piece or whatever piece they may want if necessary. It's going to back them down in their eagerness to do this. I'd rather test the water first. We have adequate time after testing that water to understand what that requirement is, and then adequate time to put together a go bond based on any kind of scaled down scope or whatever scope might be available after we have the RFIs in-house. So I think there's plenty of time to get both done. I don't think it has to be done in parallel. I think doing them in parallel right now is almost defeating the purpose of doing the RFI because it'll minimize developers' interest. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, seeing no other lights on, I guess the two questions here, we'll go down the list, is do we want to direct the city attorney to start developing some type of language involving the yacht club as far as some type of financing, whether you call it a go bond or whatever you want to call it? Or do we want to wait to get the RFIs out and maybe have this discussion at a later time, once we see the RFIs and see where we are with that? So I think that's the two questions that's in front of us right now. So no other lights on. We'll start with Councilmember Kaduc, and we'll go down the line.
I think we should be prepared. You yourself used the language offset the cost, so we need to be prepared for how we're going to pay for it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would start now.
No, I'll wait.
Yeah, I think we wait until we see, because like Councilmember Kilrain said, if we get a P3, we don't know exactly what they're going to bring to the table. So I think for me, I got to see those particulars first. And I think we have time. It's not like we got our backs up against the wall. We have some time, and I'm willing to go through that process before we kill anyone that was maybe even considering putting in a RFI.
Ultimately, I would not be opposed to having one that makes sense relating to a go bond. But at this time, I think it would be counterproductive to take those actions now, counterproductive to the effective solicitation of RFIs. So I think it'd be putting the cart ahead of the horse to do it now and to task the attorney with it now. So I would be a no at this moment.
We have to put the RFI out first.
Councilmember Donovan? No. Councilmember Laster?
Thank you, Mayor. My thought is we should be prepared, so I'm a yes.
Okay.
Either way it goes, we need to be prepared. I mean, this is, the residents want this part done. So whether we scale it back or not, or get the RFI out, I just would recommend that we start on the language now so that we're prepared either way. Thank you, Mayor.
5-3.
Okay, it looked like, was that 5-3, Madam City Clerk? All right, so with that being said, we'll wait to get the RFIs back and then have a future discussion on this topic to see exactly what we may or may not do. Any other topics? Any other council members want to bring up? Seeing none, Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything?
Nope.
Mr. City Manager?
No, thank you.
All right, with that being said, it looks like that will complete our discussion under 4 business. And if anyone is here today that's wishing to speak during citizens' input, if you haven't already, please fill out a card. And the city clerk, we're getting ready to go to citizens' input. They'll make sure they'll get that card from you. So item 6 is citizens' input, which is a maximum 60 minutes, except for the input on matters concerning city government, 3 minutes per individual. Please remember to state your name, and I will turn it over to Madam City Clerk. Please stay seated until your name's called.
Marie Kavanaugh.
Yeah, my name is Marie Kavanaugh, and first thing I want to talk about is this compensation package thing. 4.08 paragraph 3 needs to be completely eliminated. It says, mayor and council members shall not increase the salary, any retirement benefit, any stipend, or any other type of compensation paid to its members. Okay, that sounds all fine and well until you get, it's not even a different sentence, it's in the same sentence. Unless such an increase is approved by an ordinance, subject to public hearing and public comment after a supermajority of at least 6 affirmative votes, and such increase shall not be effective till after blah, 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 blah. Basically, this thing is saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't give yourself a stipend, you can't give yourself a retirement benefit, you can't give yourself a raise, but it's giving you the mechanism to do exactly that. It basically tells you, you can pass an ordinance and then you can raise your salary to whatever. There's no limits in this. You could raise the salary to $500,000 for the mayor and $400,000 for the council members. There's nothing in here that would prevent that from happening. Now, the city manager was talking about accountability. Well, I have a couple of questions for him to answer. First of all, I would like to know who in the procurement department missed the one, just a few weeks ago, 1.2 million, he came to you with a $1.2 million ask because somebody in his department missed a point, an obvious, and it's an obvious, oh, wait a minute. You were forced to approve it because something was not included in the RFP that the vendor needed to provide an accurate bid, which is what we were told. Now, coming up at 4 o'clock, we have another ask of $1.4 million for J.C. Park because somebody, again, in his department, forgot to quote the roof and all the stuff inside the bar. Okay? But this was, and they knew this before any building was started on that bistro. But they decided to, somebody decided to continue, so now we got walls up, we got the slab poured, now you have no choice but to spend the money to put the roof on. And I want accountability. First of all, there needs to be an investigation to what happened with the 1.2 million in this new $1.4 million ask.
Thank you.
Cause and corrective action.
Kyle Lahamadou.
How you doing? Kyle Lamadou, District 7. So I understand the raises are off the table, but I would say that some of you obviously do deserve a raise, and I do think there's some of you that don't deserve a raise. I actually think your raises should be based off of what you actually save the taxpayers. I think that would be a very good way for the taxpayers to feel good about who's representing them. So until that's done, I don't know. Has anybody thought of a hybrid form of government where you have a mayor and city manager working together as a team? They could share the same salary, actually. That would be a really good thing. Could save money there. But if you guys actually want to look at that, there are many cities in the U.S. who do that. So that might be something you guys want to research. So then on the salaries, does anybody actually look at what the median income is or the mean income is for the working class here? All of you, majority of you, work in a bigger field. What is the lowest person in your field being paid? Because I guarantee you that person's trying to support a household. So I would assume that many citizens in this city earn less than many of the council members up here from their pay as a council member. So that might be something you guys also want to think about. Going to the yacht club, if we look at J.C. Park, that was an absolute cluster FUCK. It still is, and we're going to be talking about that later today. So I think the citizens should absolutely have a chance to say what gets done at the yacht club. And most of the citizens do not get a say. They come up here, they say what they want to say, a lot of it falls on deaf ears and nobody listens, and that's clear when a lot of you guys make the decisions you guys make. Again, you vote as a whole, but you can't control the way everybody else votes up here. You can't sway decisions. Majority of your decisions are already made in your mind by that time. So I know personally, I've been here since 2017. I moved here 3 days before Hurricane Irma. I moved in the right direction. I moved from the Keys. So I have never been to the yacht club. I'm up in the Northeast. I'm not driving all the way down that way. You have to drag me out of my house to get me to South Cape in general. So my point is, the yacht club is not going to service every citizen. Every citizen is not going to the yacht club. If you guys make it this Taj Mahal style yacht club that you want to make it, you're going to even have less people feel welcome there. Because again, most people can't afford to go out to dinner, let alone go to the yacht club. They're struggling to put food on the table. So I'm kind of curious, and again, I'd like an answer from every one of you, what you guys think most of the households down here make, or a working individual actually makes down here. That's something I'd like to hear. Thank you.
Richard Leon?
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor, Richard Leone. I just wanted to add from the Charter Review Commission standpoint on a few things first regarding, and I want the public and for you guys to understand, we broke down every line of the charter. So if you don't think, like, for instance, the strong mayor form of government, we discussed this in great detail, to put it in the city manager's words, spirited debate. And out of the 9 of us, there was 1 that was in favor of moving forward with that. So you had a citizen board look at that and decide they didn't want to move forward with it. And for many of the same reasons that you spoke of. The one being, when you look at your top 7 and top 10 cities, especially cities who are and have that form of government, the strong mayor, they're built out. They're already existing where they, right, with our city, we're 55% built out. We, as stated, can look throughout the entire country for a professional that can help us build out our city. And those were some of the reasons why we didn't bring that forward to you to put on the ballot, if you were wondering. If I now separate that, I'm talking personally now, you have time to talk about and debate and work with citizens on building a government if that's what we really want and if that's what the citizens want. And what I mean by that is you don't need to put a charter amendment on the ballot. You could put a question. Do you want to see this form of government? This will allow us and the council and the residents to really spend the next 2 years until 2028 to really hone down on what that looks like, what that style looks like, instead of just putting one really quick together in the next 6 months. You'll be able to have the residents really sit down and talk with you guys and decide, hey, this is the style, this is the form, this is what we want. And then all we have to do is put the question out. Do we want a strong mayor form government? And then we can work out the details over the next 2 years and put it on the 2028 ballot to allow that. Or even as the attorney suggested, reforming the entire charter. That's if that is what you guys want to see in the future. So I just wanted to put that out there. You can do it as a question. That way you can have more, we can sit down together and really figure that out. Thank you guys for what you're doing.
That's the last card I have.
Okay. No one else wants to speak to citizens' input? Okay. Seeing none, I will open up for any council discussion for citizens' input. Councilmember Long.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify on that last point, as I was the liaison for the Charter Review Committee. I don't know that it was an insinuation, but just in the event that some of you interpreted it that way. That was no secret. It was not withheld from you guys that they decided not to move forward with the strong mayor. I reported to that during one of my reports. And so I believe during the last discussion, it was brought up as well. I think Councilmember Lastra had brought up at the Charter Review, reviewed that and decided against it. So I just wanted to make sure that wasn't your interpretation, that I withheld that information from you. Having said that, I will say, and I invite each of you to take that with a grain of salt and listen in on that discussion if you should. Frankly, it was over a lot of their heads. It's a significant discussion for a volunteer-led committee that was unfamiliar with it. A lot of them were unfamiliar with that particular form of government. I think maybe it lasted 10 minutes. And so, just the cherry on top for me, as far as qualifying some of those, was that the discussion was led by the chair, who's currently on the ballot for the mayor. And so I want to make sure that's taken into account as well. So, thank you.
For me, I mean, it's, as far as the strong mayor referendum, if that's the direction we go, to me, I don't think it's the 9 commissioners that were on the charter review. It's not up to them to make the determination. The 8 of us that are sitting up here, it's not up to us whether we make that determination. That's the voters make that decision. So, that's why I supported it. I could sit here and say, and give you, like I said before, pros and cons that the city manager form of government is better, and I can sit here and tell you reasons why the strong mayor form of government is better. And I'll be honest with you, personally, for now, I don't know which way I would vote if I went to the, to the ballot, to the poll to cast that vote. Because being here, I think we have a better understanding than the average person in the community. The average person in the community thinks the mayor runs everything. So, and Ms. Kavanaugh, I know we don't make you happy that often, but I will say today, you should leave here happy because the thing that you brought up, 4.08, involving the compensation for council, we took that completely off of the drawing board. We're not moving it forward. So exactly what you said there is exactly what we're doing. Seeing no other lights on, Councilmember Lastrick, do you have anything to add?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to item 7. Time and place of future meeting. We have a regular meeting of the Cape Coral City Council today, scheduled for Wednesday, December 10th, 2025, beginning at 4 p.m. today, here in about 25 minutes, here in council chambers. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.